Hello party people, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I am doing an update on a few videos that played on this channel in the past few weeks. I start with Nick walking into the kitchen, where some people believe Nick put the purse on the kitchen island. If Nick still has something in his hands, after Nick walks past the corner of the island where the purse was found, then Nick did not put the purse on the island. If you look closely, it appears Nick still has something in his hands. You can see a straight edge, and for me it's the top of a box, and I think Nick was eating Chris's food, and Nick is returning a box of whatever back to the cupboard or fridge. Ace sent me this image, and in my opinion, you can see Nick's foot starting to turn as Nick begins to walk around the end of the island. Ace believes Nick pivots and looks back at the purse on the island. Ace also thinks Nick still has something in his hands, but he does not believe it is a food item. Chris had already told the cops that the purse was found, so it doesn't matter if Nick put the purse on the island or not, but you decide for yourselves if Nick did. Party people, then tell me what you think in the comments section. Thanks for sending me this clearer video clip, Ace. Now, here we see Sandy's name on the phone when Coonrod tells Nicole Atkinson that Sandy is calling. Since the phone twice shows Sandy's name on the phone, it has to be that Coonrod is talking to the real Sandy, and the beeping Coonrod hears on the phone is just incoming text messages like Atkinson said. The piece of paper that I showed that Chris put on the workbench in the garage after Coonrod and Balhover left at 3:45 p.m., and before the three cops returned at 4:40 p.m., is now gone when the police entered the garage during the dog search the next day on August 14th. What this piece of paper was, where did it come from, and where did it go to, remains a mystery. Will Chris tell me if I can get Dave to ask Ronnie to ask Chris? We'll soon see. Dave was kind enough to ask Ronnie what this thing is on the workbench, and Ronnie was kind enough to ask Chris for us, and apparently it's a rechargeable battery for a weed whacker. You can see a battery on one of the weed whackers here, and it has a gray color too, so that must be what it is. So thank you Dave, Ronnie, and Chris for answering. You can also see that Chris had what appears to be a second weed whacker here. Now, what do you think this thing is? As I just showed, it appears this is a second weed whacker Chris owned. Now, Chris claims that his truck had a shovel, a rake, and a weed whacker as part of his tools.
Okay. Did you have a shovel?
Yeah, we have a shovel, a rake, and a weed whacker as part of our tools.
However, when the three cops returned to Chris's house, they filmed the truck bed, and there is no weed whacker in the bed of the truck. Chris has 2 steel and 1 plastic tool boxes where the weed whacker could be in. However, the property report does not show a weed whacker as part of the property. So if Chris had a weed whacker with him that Monday, then where did it go? The report shows that Chris had a sickle in his truck. So could it be that the hired help, who really buried Shannon, took the weed whacker with him when they left Survey 319? Yes, it is very possible. Chris said he loaded his tools into the truck that Monday morning, and the tools were in 2 big bin containers.
What kind of tools did you have to load up in the garage?
It was just mainly I got my water bottles and my water jug, my computer, book bags. I had my containers full of just my O-rings, all that stuff, just putting it all in there because I figured that all out.
You load it up every day.
All just like on the Monday, like after I get all that stuff, because I had an issue where somebody stole all my tools out of my truck. My pipe wrenches are gone, my socket set's gone, my what else? My wrench set's gone. Like we had an issue. That's why I parked my truck in front of the neighbor's house for like a few days, just to see if like I could see if anybody was breaking it, tried to break it in my truck again. It was my fault. I left it unlocked. So as far as the toolbox is on the back.
So on the weekend you download your stuff,
Everything out.
and then on Monday you load it
Oh
back
yeah,
up.
just put it all back in, just to kind of get everything out of my truck, clean it out a little bit from the whole week, because it gets filthy in there.
In Chris's prison interview, Chris said the kids were sitting on the back bench seat of his truck. Well, if the two big bin containers were on the back seat, where did the kids sit?
So you put Shanann in the truck, and then you put the two girls in the truck? Were they just sitting in their car seats, or I guess they didn't probably have car seats in your truck, did they?
So sitting in the back with the, like in that bench, and
So Shanann was back there too?
she was on the floor.
I've shown the following before in my silent film days, but I'm showing it again with one added item. The car keys were found on the center console of Shannon's SUV, but I still do not understand how the keys being on the center console could cause the following to occur.
Yep. Car seats are in the car. Keys are in the on the center console of the car.
When James enters the garage from the house, the parking light flashes. When James looks in the SUV to take photos, the dash lights light up and the ignition engages. How do we explain this stuff happening, party people? If this is a cell phone on the island, whose cell phone is it? Balhover took Shannon's phone. Chris is outside on his personal phone. So is this Chris's work phone? Is it a phone at all? Where did this item come from since it was not on the island countertop earlier?
Whose phone is that?
I believe that is his. Balmover took hers.
Did Shannon have two cell phones? Nicole Atkinson told Balhover that Shannon's phone did not have a lanyard cord on it that weekend, and this phone on the island has no lanyard cord. Chris was not expecting the police to return, and he was outside when they did return. So was Chris looking at, or maybe even using, Shannon's second phone after Balhover left, and forgot about this second phone before the three cops returned to search the house.
Took the corner of the phone and I reached out from under the pillow and grabbed it.
Okay. Was it face down or face up?
It was
You remember?
face up.
Face up.
Wait,
If you don't know, that's okay.
I don't remember.
Okay, that's
entirely.
fine.
Can I add something?
Sure.
The whole weekend, she had one of those little things on the phone. I don't know if it's still on there, but
Like a battery pack?
no, it was like a clutch, so she could wear it on her wrist, because normally she has one of these on it,
Okay.
and it broke or whatever, so she had one so that, like, when she held it to take pictures, if she dropped it, she
Mhm.
could drop her phone.
Break her phone,
And
yeah.
I don't remember that being on it when we gave it to us.
It wasn't on it. It was taken off.
Okay.
Um,
What do you call that, a clutch? Like a lanyard?
Kind of, yeah.
and then
So Atkinson said Shannon's phone did not have a lanyard cord on it, yet the lanyard cord is on the phone when it was found in the house.
Does she work?
Yeah, she works from home.
Oh, from
In another video, I asked if it was possible that Shannon's purse was hidden in one of the double ovens. Because Chris walked right up to the ovens once he let everyone in the house. However, I have to say no, and here is why. Before the dog search began, they filled that dog's nose with Shannon's scent, and despite Shannon not being in Atkinson's car when the search occurred, I believe the dog goes barking mad once it reaches the right rear passenger side of Atkinson's car, because the dog scented Shannon. And when the dog walks by the double ovens, he does not get a hit at all. Seconds later, when the dog is approaching this part of the countertop, he goes barking mad again, because he could smell Shannon, as her purse was on top of the countertop, and the dog could smell it. Now if Nick walked to the pool to see if Shannon and the kids were there, then why didn't Nick tell any cop that he did this? Nick doesn't tell Coonrod that day. He doesn't tell Balhover either. Nicole Atkinson also doesn't tell Coonrod about Nick's secret walk that day. She doesn't tell Balhover either. She doesn't tell Zentner when she does her August 14th interview. And Nick never told Balhover when Nick does his August 20th interview.
At the pool?
Yeah. The little rec center thing right here?
There's a pool right down there.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been here for like off and on for 3 hours here. Did nothing.
Alright, I can run down there and start.
Yeah.
Just wait for her here.
Well, I've got my detective coming, just because this is kind of an odd situation. So we can try to get her pinpointed down, find a friend or something.
Okay.
He may have you call the bank.
Okay. Hey sir, it's Chris Watts. Not too bad. Have you heard from Shannon today?
So why didn't either Nick and Nicole tell anyone that Nick walked to the pool to see if Shannon was there? Because that's not where Nick went to, that's why. It appears that Nick went and got the purse that Chris hid at Black Mesa Road, and Nick brought it back to Chris's house. Then Nick put it in either Nicole's car or in Shannon's SUV. And if Nick put it in Shannon's SUV, then it was Nick who closed Shannon's SUV front passenger door after he put the purse in her car. When Chris walks over to Nate's place, you can see Chris looks in the garage, and he does not go into the garage to close Shannon's car door, because someone already closed it, and it was probably Nick after he put Shannon's purse in her car. Now, in my Debunking Behind Criminal Minds video, some of the images did not appear for some reason. So here are 2 of the images that I tried to show you in that video. First, this is Egan's police report that shows the cops already knew about Kessinger by 11 p.m. Tuesday night, as they already had Kessinger's address, and they thought Chris was driving over to Kessinger's apartment after Chris left his interview with Coder on Tuesday. Now here is Kessinger's phone bill. It shows Kessinger called Jim at 3:32 p.m. on her way home from work. Kessinger was in Brighton when she called Jim, which proves that Kessinger drove home from work on Highway 85 and 120 Avenue. Now, let's watch Atkinson's finger movement on Shannon's phone, and let's see in super slow motion if Atkinson types in the digits Chris told her. Atkinson admits Cassie knew the new 6-digit passcode was the baby's due date.
Didn't know the password or was acting like he didn't, and then he tried, I think it was the baby's birthday.
Due date.
Mm-hmm. And then it opened. And
You tried that?
He did that and it opened.
And did he know that, Ron? Did he figure it out, or did somebody tell him?
I
don't.
It was Cassie on the phone, said try the baby's birthday. 'Cause I
Okay,
think
so he was messaging her at that point?
No, we were all on speaker. I had her mom on speaker, Cassie was on speaker.
When you're going through the house?
Yeah, because they were telling me places to look for stuff that I may not have thought of.
Nick said Chris pretended to not know the passcode, but Atkinson said it was Chris, and not Cassie, who actually gave her the passcode numbers.
We found her phone, and Chris turned it on. The police officer asked him to turn it on. So they turned it on, and then it needed a code.
Well, what's originally on the Capella on the cash?
Do you know her passcode?
I don't know her passcode.
It used to be 2385, but now it's 6 digits.
It's the baby's due date.
1/31/8/19.
The number 1 is at the top of the keypad. The number 8 is down beside the 9. You clearly see Atkinson's finger type 1, then move over to the right to type 3, then move back to the left to type 1. Now this is where it gets interesting. If Atkinson types in the numbers Chris told Atkinson, 1/31, 8/19, then Atkinson's finger must go from 1 at the top of the keypad down to the 8 at the bottom of the keypad, then back to the 1 at the top of the keypad, then back down to the 9 at the bottom of the keypad. So let's watch her finger in slow motion and see if her finger makes these up and down movements. While you cannot see Atkinson's finger type an 8 or any other number instead of 8, this is not important. You can clearly see her finger comes from the lower keypad, back up to the top where she typed 1. Then you clearly see her finger go back down to type in the 9. Therefore, since you can clearly see that Atkinson types a 1, then move to the right to type 3, then move back to the left to type 1 again, you now know for fact that the beginning of the passcode was not 01. If the passcode was 01, 31, 19, Atkinson's finger would be seen moving from the bottom of the keypad at 0 up to the 1, and you do not see this because 01 is not the beginning of the passcode. Therefore, you now know that the passcode was in fact not the baby's due date. You now also know for fact that it was not Cassie on the phone giving Atkinson the numbers to type into the phone. And you now know this because Cassie said the passcode was the baby's due date and 1/31/8/19 is not a date. And you now know for fact that Chris knew the passcode all along because it was Chris who gave Atkinson the correct passcode numbers. This proves that anyone who claims that Chris or his helpers could not get Shannon's phone turned on to send staged messages are simply wrong. Now, we must determine the following. Was Cassie lying about the passcode being the baby's due date? Is Cassie involved in Shannon's disappearance? Or was Atkinson lying when she said that Cassie said that the passcode was the baby's due date? This is case-changing information, party people. And as usual, this case-changing information is only brought to you by the king of the case. So thanks for watching, everyone. Now watch this.